All right, let's jump right into this deep dive on totally transforming your financial foundation. If you've ever felt like you're stuck on that hamster wheel, just living paycheck to paycheck, today we're laying out the exact roadmap to get you from merely surviving the daily grind to achieving ultimate geographic and financial freedom. We're looking at some incredibly powerful source material today that maps out a complete wealth building journey step by step.
So, I want to kick things off with a question that might actually challenge everything you've ever been taught. Do you really need to make more money? I mean, it's a super common misconception, right? We're basically conditioned to believe that earning a higher salary, that next raise, that big bonus is the absolute magic bullet to get us out of the financial rat race. But as the material we're analyzing today reveals, that is almost never the case. Here is a bit of tough love reality straight from our sources. You don't have an income problem, you have a cash flow problem. The truth is, consumerism is a silent debt. As long as your money has more commitments than it has actual freedom, you are always going to be just the middleman of your own paycheck. Think about it. If your direct deposit hits and literally vanishes instantly to bills and impulse buys, making more money is just going to mean spending more money. The harsh reality? Nobody is coming to save you. You've got to take control of the system yourself. To get there, we're going to follow a clear, escalating path today. First up, fixing your cash flow. Then, the freedom account. Next, the infinite banking truth, followed by term versus whole life insurance, and finally, going global for wealth. Starting off with part one, fixing your cash flow and escaping that silent debt.
I want you to picture your cash flow like a literal river. When it's dispersed to you, does it flow beautifully to create this continuous stream of wealth? Or does it hit a dam and stop dead in its tracks at Amazon or Target? If your money is constantly blocked by everyday consumer expenses, you aren't really the owner of your money. You're basically just a temporary middleman passing it along to massive corporations. The goal here is to let that river flow directly into your own assets. The absolute fastest way to fix this is by physically separating your money, what we call naming every single dollar. Look, if you keep all your cash sitting in one giant checking account, you're going to unconsciously spend it. It's just human nature. Instead, you need distinct buckets. And the ultimate priority? Pay yourself first. Automate 20% of your income straight into savings before you even look at it. Then you can split the rest, half for bare bones essentials and 30% purely for your lifestyle. That brings us to part two, the freedom account. Time to upgrade your saving strategy. Now, a freedom account is absolutely not just your typical rainy day fund. Step one is, of course, saving around $2,000 for basic unexpected emergencies, like a busted tire or a broken fridge. But you cannot stop there. Step two is building out your actual freedom account. We're talking 3 to 6 months of income that is strictly reserved for opportunities. This is the cash you deploy to buy assets that actually generate more income. It is your personal launching pad into real passive investments. Moving right along to part three, the infinite banking truth. And we really need to clarify some major misconceptions here. So here is the crucial takeaway. We need to debunk a massive myth right now. Life insurance is not some magical investment trick meant to compete with the stock market. Infinite banking is strictly an income protection and cash flow strategy. It's about using a whole life insurance policy as a stable foundation. Because it builds liquid cash value, you're able to leverage it. You can take loans against that cash value to invest in other income-producing opportunities. But listen, this strategy requires intense, uncompromising discipline. A catastrophic mistake people make is taking out policy loans to buy consumer goods, like a fancy new car, without any plan to pay that money back. Just look at year 5 on this timeline. If you keep borrowing and you never pay back the principal or even the simple interest, that compounding debt completely balloons out of control. Suddenly, you owe over $1,700 just in interest, totally jeopardizing the entire policy. Bottom line, borrowed funds must be used to make more money, not to buy toys. All right, let's dive into part 4, term versus whole life, the ultimate insurance showdown. Impartially looking at both of these tools, it's clear they serve completely different purposes. Term life is fantastic for your building phase. It's temporary, it's way cheaper initially, and it allows you to protect your income while you're busy paying off debt and building up that freedom account. But it expires. Whole life, on the other hand, is permanent. It has stable premiums, a guaranteed payout, and most importantly, it builds that liquid cash value we just talked about. It acts as a permanent cash flow system. Honestly, comparing them is kind of like comparing a Honda to a Ferrari. They're both great vehicles, but they do completely different things for you. And if you're sitting there wondering if whole life is actually a legitimate vehicle for building wealth, consider this absolutely staggering number. $180 billion. That is the amount of money that major banks currently hold in bank-owned life insurance, or BOLI. Institutional money relies heavily on whole life insurance because it's contractually guaranteed, it's incredibly stable, and it offers massive tax advantages. Trust me, banks aren't buying temporary term policies with this kind of capital. They are parking it safely in permanent whole life.
Which leads us perfectly into our final section, Part 5, Going Global for Wealth and Expanding Your Geographic Borders. This brings us to a super fascinating philosophy explored in our source material, and it boils down to one phrase: go where you're treated best. Wealth builders are increasingly waking up to the fact that they don't have to stay permanently tethered to the economic systems of the specific country they just happen to be born in. Instead of only buying life insurance, they are actively pursuing citizenship insurance. They're looking at multiple citizenships and foreign residencies to seriously expand their options and protect their lifestyle. The concept we're talking about here is called geographic arbitrage. The material highlights that by simply relocating or perhaps restructuring your business internationally, you can dramatically optimize the biggest expenses in your life. We're talking about legally reducing your taxes down to single digits by utilizing territorial tax systems. It means accessing stunning real estate for a fraction of the usual cost. And incredibly, you can reclaim literally thousands of hours of your own time by hiring full-time domestic help for maybe $5,000 to $6,000 a year in certain countries. It's all about maximizing what's called soft freedom and drastically upgrading your overall quality of life.
The reality we have to face is that the world is changing, and it's changing fast. Obtaining dual citizenship in places like St. Lucia, or maybe buying lifestyle real estate down in Colombia, isn't just about having a cool vacation spot anymore. It completely untethers your assets. If the banks in one country suddenly decide they don't want to do business with you, guess what? You already have access to entirely new markets. It provides unparalleled options and shields you from being overly dependent on the ups and downs of any single government's economy. So let's tie this entire wealth-building explainer together. The whole process basically operates in 4 distinct phases. Step 1 is stability, mastering your personal budget and totally controlling your cash flow lanes. Step 2 is protection, using the Freedom Account and term life insurance to secure your income. Step 3 is leverage, utilizing infinite banking to safely borrow against your own assets so you can make even more money. And finally, Step 4 is expansion, taking that finely tuned financial machine you've built and using global arbitrage to design a true life without borders.
I think the most empowering takeaway from all of these sources is simply this: you do not need permission to leave the system that's keeping you broke. You don't need anyone's permission to automate your savings, to leverage your own assets, or even to move your entire life to a country that treats you better. The doors are completely open. So, taking everything you've learned today about owning your lifestyle, what is your very next move?